Welcome to another Sinespace tutorial. In this tutorial, I will show you how to create and use the floor component in your room or region. Room floors expand the functionality of your room or region. You can collaborate with friends or colleagues, rent a floor space to your friends or colleagues, sell multi-floor rooms on the marketplace, create office spaces or multi-level games, or multi-level quests or story scenes. By default, Sinespace adds a floor to all new or uploaded regions. This allows the owner to immediately add furniture with the Room Edit system. This button here tells you that there's a floor in the room, and if you click on it, you can see the objects that you have and your inventory. As the owner of the space, you can, or region, you can place furniture on any floor. You can also assign one or more of your floors to another Sinespace user. If you click the All Areas button, you will see how many floors you have. The fly-through camera will help you see where those floors are. Then, if you right-click or Control-click, you can move up, down, and around in the same way as you do in the Unity editor. And you can place your furniture that way. I'm going to add a table to my room here. All of these models are in the Unity package that you downloaded to make basic furniture. And so these are the models we're going to continue to use. If you click the switch button, the camera moves back to the avatar. If you click fly through again, it will take you to the next floor. You can have quite a few floors in your room. And then you can place objects there as well. Click Save and continue editing for as long as you would like. If you click Edit on your room floor, you can name the floor. You can allot a certain number of megabytes of your space. The free space comes with 128 megabytes, and so you can allocate 50 megabytes, 30 megabytes to a friend or colleague so that they can build on that floor. And then you just choose from a list of names who you want the floor to be for. And then you just click Save, and your room is assigned. If you click the All Objects, it will show you on room floor 1, which is this one over here, which objects are on that floor, and in room floor 2, which objects are on this floor. Now these two floors come with the free house, the free space that you get when you join Sinespace. So it's a nice way to practice placing things. If you assign floors to other users, make sure you use a spare floor, unless you have an agreement with one of them that you are going to be using some space on their floor for common objects. As the owner, you can see all the floors, and you can delete objects on all the floors. But as the user who's had a floor assigned to you, you can only see the one floor that is yours. If you place as the owner, you place something on another person's floor and you have used that floor, they can delete the item. If you have used another floor, you can place an item close by their other objects, but they can't delete that one because it's not on their floor. And if you start to experiment with the room edit system, you'll see what I mean. Because every region has a floor, and so once you have a floor in the region, you can place items anywhere in the region. So let's add some floors. I have a space in my Unity editor, and I actually have a space that is, I started with the new Sinespace scene. And my arrival floor is here. This is where my landmark and everything is. And I have made a couple of floors so that you can see what it looks like. So I'm going to take you through this one. This is the studio that we've been building. And now I'm going to show you how to assign a floor to it. I'm going to go through this rather quickly on this one, and then we'll show you level 2, and I'll go a little bit slower. Level 1 floor itself holds the floor component, the room floor component. You need a collider on each object that becomes a floor, whether it's the actual floor, the wall, or the ceiling. And my placement colliders have one for each. And when I was placing furniture, you could see how it would drag up and down because it will snap to all 3 of those. Every floor needs a collider, as I just mentioned, but each also needs what we call a floor focus camera. This is basically an empty, and that is what the fly-through in the region in world allows you to use to move around and place your items. And then I have a wall, and I have a ceiling. Each of those has a collider, and then each of those is placed in my quick placement colliders. Okay, I also have a simpler floor that we're going to move over to now. Oops, that was my F key, F as in Frank key. There's my F as in Frank key, and now we can zoom in. One of the nice things about creating a floor is that you can either use an actual floor surface. This is a duplicate of the cube that comes with the new scene. You can also create your own size floor if you want to. This is basically a cube, and I'm going to flatten it, and I'm going to stretch it, and I'm going to stretch it. And unless, if you're simply adding floors for your own use, they can actually be any size. What's important is not the cube, but the box collider. So your actual floor itself can be as large as you want it to be. But it's the floor collider and the floor component that allows you or another person to place objects. And if we look at the room floor component, which is this one, this is what it looks like. Now, one thing to note, when you add a floor, your first floor, it actually replaces the floor, the default floor that Sinespace has added to the region. So if you want a multi-floor room or region, you'll need to add at least 2 floors. In the component, the first thing you'll do is name your floor. I'm going to call this the cube floor. And add a description, cube floor. That's enough. Okay, placement colliders. In this case, there's just one floor that this particular placement, that this component is going to use. So generally I just use one. And my cube already has a box collider on it. So I go up to my hierarchy and I can drag my floor in, or I can click on this round dot and I can select my cube. Now I've got a lot of things named cubes, so you'll want to name your floor object something a little different. Okay. I'm going to move this floor and show you a little bit about the focus camera, which is what I have here. I have my level 2 floor, and in this case I have used the actual floor. Now what the focus camera does, once again, is to allow you to use the ceiling camera or the fly-through camera. All it is an empty. And I'll do this here for you. You basically right-click on the floor itself. You create an empty, drag your empty up out of your game objects. Make sure that your rotation is 0. That's very important, by the way. Your scale at 111. It's not quite as vital as when we're making furniture, but it's good to get into that habit. And then you're going to name this cube floor focus. Okay. And then what you do is you pull it upwards to about at least 8 or 10 feet above the cube itself, or the floor itself. And I have one here, level 2 focus camera. My level 2 floor is at 42.5 meters, however it's measured, units. My level 2 focus camera is at 53. So it's about almost 12 feet, or 10 feet, maybe 11 feet higher. Okay. This gives you enough viewing so that you can see what is below you. And the fly-through camera and the avatar camera are both very useful to move your camera around and see where you're placing things. So the focus camera is really for the fly-through more than anything. When you have your focus camera finished, you just grab the focus camera. Wait a second, let me do this one. We go down to camera and focus, cube floor focus camera, pull that into that slot, or again, find it among all of your items. Default zoom you can leave alone, and in a few moments I'll show you about the constrained focus to area. Subletting is important if you want other people, especially if you want other people to share your floors. So once you have more than one floor, then you select Show Sublet Interface. You click that. My level 2 floor is sublet ID number 2, and I'll show you why in a moment. So my cube floor is going to be sublet ID number 3. It's usually not going to be on top of the first floor unless it's an apartment or something like that. But just to show you how to fill it in. Okay, and we're going to return to our level 2 floor. Placement restrictions. Placement restrictions are going to actually restrict you from building on a particular floor. So That one is for another tutorial, but it's one that we might not ever have to use. So just remember that if you decide to experiment with it, you're restricting someone from building there. Pull that collider in here. Okay, then no one can actually build there. Okay. I will have other tutorials on the configurable buttons, the lighting controls, the material controls. Those are intermediate topics. But for our basic floor, we do want to talk about our network ID. Click New. You only have to do this once for each floor, but you do have to do this once for each floor. The network ID is what distinguishes this floor from other floors in your region. So we have the level 1 floor, and this floor has its own box collider, which is required for any of the placement colliders. And just so another note, you can actually place a box collider on an empty and use that box collider as your floor. You can also use a mesh collider as a floor. So it doesn't have to be a cube. Okay, so I've got my level 1 floor pulled in to one of the colliders for this particular floor component. I have the wall. I've also pulled in, there's my wall. And then I've got my ceiling that I've pulled in for one of my placement colliders. This camera focus, again, is an empty. Create your empty, move it to the place where you want it to go. Now this particular empty is not in the middle of the floor because although you can place anywhere on this floor, I've moved the focus camera so that it will first bring you above the actual furniture placement when we use this room in world. In this one, I have constrained focus to area. This isn't something that you will probably use very much, but in my case, because I've got my levels separated in space, and I am eventually going to use them for a story for a quest. These are going to be different quest levels. I don't want the camera to be able to wander over to the other levels. So I'm going to try out this level 1 focus constraint. Basically all it is another empty, just like the focus camera, and on it is a box collider, and that box collider is basically placed around the area that you want to constrain to. My camera will be constrained, theoretically constrained to this area. In this one, again, my sublet interface will show, my sublet ID will show, and my network ID is completely different from any of the others. Okay, let's just go very quickly over to our room and click the Edit Room button. And we can see right away that we have floor level 1 and floor level 2. And we are on the arrival floor, which doesn't have its own floor, but I could still put out something. Oh, I could still put out my chair. So no matter where you put your floor, if there's only one, you can put down any piece of furniture you want to. But what I want to show you is that if I click all areas and I click switch on my level 1 floor and I click fly through, my camera zoomed all the way over to my floor no matter where I am. I am over here. actually. This is my chair and I. So if you place your camera, your focus camera, up here where, kind of where we're looking, here's the ceiling. Then you click fly through and then you can move your camera. And then if I click switch on the level 2 floor, I get zoomed back to my avatar, click fly through, and I am now on the other floor. There's my avatar, a little tiny avatar there, and I can see my studio over there a little bit. Basically, this is what happens when you add the floors. And as you can see, there's a lot you can do with it. And I'll click switch again, and I'm back to my avatar. I click save, and now I have a place to sit. Thank you. Bye for now.